It started as an idea fueled by curiosity and adrenaline, the kind of thought that made teenagers and 20-somethings believe they were braver than they actually were. Four friends Lena, Mark, Sarah, and Devin drove the old dirt road past the outskirts of their Maine town, headlights cutting through the thick fog that clung to the trees like ghostly fingers. In the distance, the silhouette of Ashthorne Asylum rose like a tombstone, its jagged roofline a jagged scar against the night sky. The building had been abandoned since the 1960s, or so, the stories went. They said the patients had disappeared, one by one, until the asylum was shut down, locked, and left to rot. Yet locals whispered that something had remained, that the cries of the lost could still be heard if you were foolish enough to listen. "Here it is," Mark said, stopping the car. He got out, stretching, the fog curling around his boots. "This is perfect. Just like the documentary we planned." Lena shivered, hugging her jacket tighter. "It looks, I don't know, dead. Good dead or bad dead?" Devin teased, grinning despite the tension in the air. "Either way, it's perfect for cameras." Sarah was silent, her eyes fixed on the looming structure. There was something unnatural about the way it sat on the hill, the way the windows stared like hollow eyes. Every story they had ever heard about Ashthorne whispered in her mind, screams that carried without wind, shadows that moved against logic, faces pressed against glass that weren't really there. They approached the main entrance, the doors rotting on their hinges. Mark pushed the first one open, and the hinges groaned like a dying animal. Inside, the air was cold in a way that seeped into bones, smelling of damp wood, rust, and decay. Their flashlights illuminated faded murals on the walls, grotesque depictions of patients, some smiling, some screaming, some with eyes scratched out. Each step echoed ominously down the empty hallways, amplifying the silence that pressed down on them like a physical weight. "This place, it's too quiet," Lena whispered, her voice trembling. "Quiet is good," Devin said. "Means no one's here to freak us out. Let's set up cameras in the main hall." And he stopped mid-sentence. A faint whisper tickled at the edge of his hearing, almost drowned in the echo of their own footsteps. They froze. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice barely audible. "Hear what?" Mark replied, though even he strained to listen. I think someone just whispered my name," Sarah said, her knees weakening. "Probably just the wind," Mark said, but his tone lacked conviction. The whisper came again, clearer this time. "Sarah." The group exchanged uneasy glances. Lena's flashlight flickered, casting shadows that danced along the walls. For a brief moment, she thought she saw a figure at the end of the hall, a pale woman, staring from the shadows with eyes too black to be human. Then the figure was gone. They pressed on, moving deeper into the asylum. The hallway opened into a central hall where the ceiling had partially collapsed, exposing broken rafters. The tiles underfoot were cracked and stained. Every wall, every floorboard seemed alive with memory, vibrating with the echoes of suffering. "Set up the cameras." "Here," Mark said, gesturing to the hall. He seemed confident, but Lena could see the tension in his hands as they moved. The first signs of the asylum's psychological grip emerged. Devin laughed nervously, shaking his head. "You guys feel that? It's like the walls are watching us." "It's giving me the creeps," Lena said, shivering. She paused at a mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. Her reflection twisted as if the glass was liquid. For a split second, her own face smiled back at her, lips stretched unnaturally, wide eyes darker than her own. She stumbled back, heart hammering. "Lena," Sarah asked, noticing her pale face. "I don't know. I saw something in the mirror." Devin stepped forward to look. The reflection showed him smiling too, but it was a sinister, grinning version of himself. And the image didn't move when he moved. He staggered back, suddenly aware of the oppressive cold surrounding them. Voices began to seep from the walls. Low whispers at first, then rising in volume. "Stay with us. Stay. Forever." The air became thick, almost viscous, pressing against their skin, making it hard to breathe. Mark tried to rationalize it. "We're all seeing things. It's the place, the cold, stress, but the asylum would not be rationalized." As they explored, a locked cell at the end of a hallway trembled violently, the padlock shaking as if something inside wanted out without warning. The door creaked open. Inside sat a rusted wheelchair, rocking slowly back and forth. Lena felt the hairs on her neck stand straight. The chair moved toward them, squeaking on the cracked tile as though propelled by invisible hands. Sarah screamed and ran toward the exit, but the hallway twisted around her. Every turn led her back to the central hall. The same murals on the walls, the same broken tiles. The whispers grew louder, chanting their names, filling their heads with dread. Devin tried to follow her, but the floor beneath him seemed to warp. For a moment, he saw the floor tiles dissolve into faces, screaming silently, mouths opened in agony. He stumbled back, his flashlight illuminating hundreds of pale, hollow-eyed patients pressed against the walls, trapped inside the building itself. One by one, the friends began to vanish. Lena turned to call out for Sarah and found only her own echo in the vast, empty hall. The whispers now seemed to come from inside her own skull. Panic seized her lungs as she ran blindly, the asylum stretching endlessly around her, corridors folding in impossible ways. Finally, Lena stumbled into the central hall again, breathless, eyes darting around. There it was, the mural she had seen from the start, but now the faces moved. They twisted, turned, mouths opening silently, and the hollow eyes seemed to bore into her. She tried to back away, but the floor beneath her shivered and shifted. Hands, pale and skeletal, emerged from the walls, fingers clawing at her legs, dragging her toward the mural. The whispers became voices, distinct and terrifying. "Join us. Stay. Never leave." She fought, kicking and screaming, but it was no use. The asylum consumed her, and then silence. When the town woke the next morning, a lone figure stumbled out of the fog. Lena's jacket was torn, dirt and dried leaves clinging to it. Her eyes were wide, empty, her lips cracked from screaming. The townspeople rushed to help, but as she lifted her arms, everyone froze in horror. Deep, precise cuts ran along her forearms, carved letters spelling the names of her friends, Mark, Sarah, Devin. The blood had dried, but the skin was raw, as if the asylum itself had branded her. I made it out," she whispered, voice trembling. I survived." A local police officer knelt beside her, studying the cuts. Lena. These names, you carved them yourself. She looked up, her face pale, and shook her head. But no words came. Her eyes, once human, now seemed hollow, reflecting the asylum in their depth. She had survived, but at what cost? Ashthorne Asylum had claimed her mind, her soul, leaving only a shell that carried the whispers, the hollow voices, the endless screaming within. When authorities investigated the asylum that morning, it was gone. Ashthorne had been demolished decades ago, reduced to rubble years before. Nothing remained. No hallways, no murals, no rusted wheelchair. Nothing but Lena, wandering into the town as if she had returned from a dream. But the cuts on her arms told a different story, a story of horror, psychological torment, and the supernatural force that refused to release her. She would never sleep. She would never be free. And if anyone dared approach the hill where the asylum had once stood, the whispers would begin anew, calling out names, dragging victims into a nightmare that existed somewhere between the mind and the supernatural. The Hollow had claimed another, and it would not be the last.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.